Thank you, Ahmed. Well, there's a word that I wanted to use to start off the proceedings, which I think is an accurate descriptor of our panel. It's a bit of a problematic word now because it's been colonised by a certain group in society whom I don't really particularly like. That group are reality television contestants, and the word I want to use is journey, because all three of our women here, who are very different, have all been on their own journey, and for some of them it's a geographic journey to come to Australia. For others it's a cultural journey through their particular community group, and for others it's been a journey of faith, and for some of them it's a mixture of all three. So, Mia, you are a Jewish journalist in one of the most Jewish cities in the world, I would say. You are fully immersed in the culture, but your childhood was very different. You grew up in the Middle East in an environment I think we can say is the exact opposite, because Jewishness was not really on the radar of the society which you grew up in. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, not only was it not really on the radar of the society, but also myself. I didn't really know much about Judaism, how it was related to me. I knew it was a word. I didn't know how it connected to my life, my family. And so I lived there before I was a teenager. And, I didn't know what the Holocaust was until I was a teenager. I didn't know anything about the religion, about the cultures, the holidays. And then when I became a teenager, we moved home to Melbourne, and that's when I sort of started connecting a little bit more.
So you lived in Dubai,
yes,
not that far from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Were you able to take trips to Israel?
Well, no. So at the time, we weren't allowed to be Jewish. So we never spoke about it, and we'd mark Israel off the map. My friend who went to high school there, he had to get his diary. The whole entire school of hundreds of students got their diary, and in an assembly took a marker and all crossed out Israel off the map. And we couldn't fly there. My family and I did go later on in life when I was 16, and it was still, the relations between Israel and Dubai at that time was still not good. So we had to do an interesting route. Couldn't get our passport stamped, and so there was no Holocaust education, no Jewish education at all, and that didn't come until much later on in my life.
Did that strike you as highly unusual, if not a little oppressive?
Not really, but that was because I didn't know any different. I got there when I was 3 years old, and my family was new to Dubai as well. They didn't know what we were learning at school, or more accurately, what we weren't learning at school. They didn't know we were told to cross Israel off the maps. And that discovery sort of came quite late in my life, when I was speaking to my grandparents when I moved back here. And they were just baffled by how little we knew about our own culture and our heritage. And so then through them, I sort of found the connection by going to Israel and meeting family there. And when I finally got this job, I spoke to a rabbi, and he told me that I'm just as Jewish as he is, no matter how late I came into it, or what I know, what I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I am Jewish.
And you have written about your experiences in the Australian Jewish news. You're fully immersed in the culture. You're reporting on it. You are meeting very senior figures in the community, and I think it's fair to say can have quite exacting standards. How have you found going about doing your day job, given this lack of knowledge that you have had, which we have some pretty clear indications from a very young age, Jewish children are learning about and are exposed to?
The reason I was so excited to take the job was because I wanted to learn. I knew I was going to be coming into it, and it was going to be scary because I didn't know what a lot of people were going to expect me to know. But I made it pretty clear when I started. I was meeting these important people, I was meeting rabbis, and I said, look, I don't know everything. That's why I'm here. I really want to learn. And the reception I received was amazing. Every single time I would meet someone, I would get given their card or a personal phone number, and they would say, any question as stupid as you think it is, give me a call. And I've learned so much. I'm teaching my mum about Judaism all the time, and she's Jewish, and she grew up in more of a Jewish community here than I did. But
She's the lady smiling very broadly in the center. Susan, you've had a journey of faith, and I should declare a slight interest here. I come from the Christian faith. My grandfather was, and my aunt were ministers in the Uniting Church, which I believe you, for a period, were also a member of, but clearly not now.
Yeah, I was raised in the Uniting Church, and it was a beautiful experience. I had such a positive Christian upbringing. I don't think I could have asked for a better Christian upbringing. All the people that I was surrounded by were exactly what you would want to be the exemplary Christian models to have around you. So I had a really positive, happy Christian upbringing in the Uniting Church, as you said. But it was when I was a teenager, I just started to wonder why I believed what I did. I wondered, do I believe this because I think it's true, or is it because this is just what I've been raised to believe? So I started to wonder about other belief systems, other religions, and I decided I wanted to find out about them all except Islam, because I thought Islam looked sexist, outdated, barbaric, all the standard stereotypes. This was pre-9/11, so there was even less known about Islam. But to my surprise, even though I was determined I wasn't interested in Islam, I found that I would keep stumbling across information about Islam. So I'd turn on the TV and there'd be a documentary about Islam, or I'd open the newspaper and there'd be a story about a Muslim family. And there was enough in there to pique my interest for me to think, I feel like there's more to this than I thought there was. And so I thought, well, I'm going to see what does the religion seem to be saying about itself, as opposed to what I'm seeing Muslims doing in the name of Islam, or what certain people in the, commentators in the media might be saying Islam is. What does the religion seem to be saying about itself? So when I was meant to be studying for my Year 12 exams, I was instead reading these classic Islamic texts. And it was when I was 19 I realised, look, I think this is actually true. And so I became Muslim.
My next question I know is wrong, but I'm going to ask it anyway, which is, why did you choose Islam? And I know that this is wrong because you gave an interview to the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age a few years ago where you said Islam chose you.
Yeah.
And how was that your experience?
I think it was my experience in that, in many ways, I didn't want to be Muslim because there was nothing easy about it. I knew my family would be upset, and they were. Culturally in Australia, certainly back then, maybe more so now, but even not to a huge extent, Muslims weren't particularly loved. It wouldn't be easy to be Muslim in Australia or within my family. I didn't know how my friends would react. So there were all these reasons for me not to want to be Muslim, but the problem was I sincerely believed it was true.
Did you lose friends over that experience? Because you were young, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. It was an interesting sorting process, I guess, because it sort of showed me the friends who sort of said, look, I support you, you're my friend, I know you're not going to do anything stupid, so of course I'm here for you. Those are the people who stayed my friends. I also got a lot of wonderful friends as well, and also, in defense of the people who struggled with it, including, especially family members, I can understand now, the age that I was when I became Muslim. And if one of my kids came home and said, I'm going to join this religion,
Church, maybe.
In fact, I think it would be even worse than that, because it would be like them saying, I'm going to join this religion that you don't know much about, and what you do know looks terrible.
Okay.
And I now as a mother, I realise how distressing that must have been for my family. So now that I'm older, I'm a lot more sympathetic than I was at the time. I was just a self-righteous 19-year-old, like, let me live my life, Mum. But, now I can understand what that must have been like. So my family has come on that journey with me as well.
Viv, your journey was a geographic one. Well, everything about it. So you came to Australia, I think aged about 12.
Yes.
Can you remember your first day in Australia?
I can. We arrived to Melbourne on a very hot 20th of December 1983. And the first thing that I remember so clearly was the sound of the shoes. That this fat, or the equivalent lady walking around stomping her feet. And I said, that is so not Vietnamese. We women or girls were raised to be elegant, to be such and such, and then here this woman just storming around her feet. Such sound, so that's what I remember. Very conscious.
And that led you to assume that everything about this new country was completely different
It was.
to everything that you had ever experienced.
Totally, absolutely. The language, the people, the culture, and just getting to know the country.
Did that feeling, this is weird, stay with you for a long time?
I have to say, and I need to acknowledge the Archbishop of Melbourne, Peter Comensoli, who is my faith leader. Faith did play a very big role in my early days of settlement in Australia, because I went straight to the church and the Vietnamese church in Flemington, and just went straight to getting to know the people, and they played a very big role for not just me but also my family. My mum and dad weren't with us. There were 4 of us, brothers and 5 of us siblings together. And so that place, it gave me a very strong sense of comfort, because you could speak the language first and foremost, and you understood the faith. And so it played a very big role in my growing up here in Australia.